It's another edition of my bi-weekly Monday newsletter. I'm trusting that it finds you well, having gone through a thankful day and weekend with your family. What up, guys? I really just like singing to people, so here I am popping into your Monday morning, or whenever it is you clicked play to this, and coming on to hopefully inspire some new ways of thinking, maybe laugh. If nothing else, life is not meant to be taken so seriously. So if I can be, a part of bringing you a chuckle, I'm with it. But really anything that hopefully ignites critical thinking, reflection, laughter, a new perspective is why I show up and do this video every other week. Although, in all transparency, because I always keep it real, I totally forgot last week. I feel like it was coming off the holiday and I'm like, oops. But you know what? I really fundamentally know that everything unfolds in perfection, so I never really sweat the trivial matter of it being bi-weekly or once in a while tri-weekly, because not tri-weekly, tri-monthly. Yeah, that. Whatever. I don't even. We're going to just let that one rock. Anyway, I am here to talk about leaning in. Leaning into discomfort. And what do I mean by leaning in? So 2 Sundays ago, I was talking to this beautiful soul who asked me how it was I was able to heal from the experiences I've had in my formative years, struggling with addiction and abuse and all the things. And I had to give it some reflection because it's taken me a long time, and yet leaning in was my answer, something that I had to do this morning. And so let me break this down a little bit. What do I mean by leaning in? So having been assaulted by men who I loved in my life, it would have been very easy for me to shut down, to stop trusting in men, to wall myself off from having new experiences with new people based on the experiences that I had gone through. And yet I fundamentally knew that if I did that, I would be cutting myself off from connection, something that I'd been striving to achieve since I can remember. It's why I struggled with addiction in the first place. I felt so disconnected, so unseen, and so unloved, right? And I wanted to numb out. Now, side note to that, I've come to understand that really the person I didn't love was myself. And so once I learned that, I attracted people who could truly see me and hold space for me as I am. But I didn't know that at the time. Anyway, I kept leaning in. When I would feel afraid, when I would walk into a room and there was a new man that I didn't know, instead of putting my guards up, I allowed myself to feel really uncomfortable. At times I allowed myself to be afraid, not because this person wasn't kind, but because it brought up a lot of discomfort within myself, a lot of fear, a lot of trust issues. But as I kept leaning into situations where there were new people, new experiences, I was able to break the belief that men were untrustworthy, that men were going to hurt me, that I was unsafe when it came to being around a certain gender, literally, because that's what it was, a gender. And that has been my whole life. So leaning into new experiences, right? For the longest time, I was a leader for Starbucks. And when it no longer served me, I held on too tightly. This was an area where I didn't lean in. and I held on too tightly. And as a result, I lost my job due to depression and anxiety, but it was a gift because it reminded me that when you hold too tightly to something because you're afraid, you inevitably will experience the loss of it regardless, because it's no longer meant for you. Except for it came from a place of fear rather than empowerment. And so fast forward, when I started to feel discontentment at my job at Nordstrom, instead of holding on because it was safe, I leaned in. I leaned into letting go because I knew that's what I needed to do. And it was a more empowered choice. It felt more supportive. And it taught me just how capable I am of doing new things, learning new tools, showing up with new people, and really being seen and having value. Because up until that point, really, I just achieved results because I thought that was what made me worthy. But once I left Nordstrom and helped to build a company, and I worked alongside of the owners of this company, I realized that I had just as much to offer. I had just as much insight. And despite my circumstances in my formative years, I was just as capable of anybody else. Leaning in. I leaned into discomfort. It's scary to open up a new company with no rules, no clear path of how you're going to do things. And yet it taught me so much more about myself. The same person who asked me how it is I overcame all of the challenges and struggles I have faced in my years had the opportunity to join Nana and I at a class this past Sunday, where a friend of ours was teaching a Tai Bo class. Now, I've taken boxing before, so I was prepared, but Nana hasn't, and yet he leaned in. He was like, yeah, I'm going to show up and support my people and just go through the motions. He didn't know all the moves. He struggled a little bit, but he leaned in. He leaned into the experience of trying something new, of supporting somebody he cared about, and of learning where there's areas that he could potentially work on for himself to help him grow and expand and get stronger. The person, when asked if they wanted to join, as quickly as they were asked, said, nah, this ain't for me, and walked out the door. And it got me thinking, how often do we tell ourselves we want to grow and expand, and as soon as an opportunity presents itself for us to grow and expand, we come back to what we know. We allow the box, the limits in our beliefs, the habits that we have created over a lifetime keep us from experiencing that new opportunity. And so on this beautiful, amazing Monday, as we start to move into the end of the perceived year of 2024, heading into 2025, what is it that you can lean into that maybe you've been a little uncomfortable to lean into? Is it a conversation? Is it the end of a career that you've known doesn't serve you for quite some time? Is it showing up to the gym after years of being out of it because you've been uncomfortable with your performance or how you look? Whatever it is, I encourage you, just lean in. It's not going to feel comfortable. You're going to look like a fool. In fact, Nana and I, we were laughing. We had more fun looking at ourselves as we had no idea what was going on until we figured it out. And even when we didn't, we just danced through it. He's over here right now making me laugh. But anyway, I really strongly encourage you to lean in. And to prove a point, just this morning, my youngest daughter has been struggling immensely with emotional stuff at school in her classes. And her teacher is somebody I have profound respect for, who gives 110% to her people. And yet, how she shows up sometimes is what makes my daughter struggle. And so I had to lean in and have a tough conversation and say, hey, can we talk about Billy? Meaning sometimes you have to have the tough conversations with the people you love the most, because that's how you get your needs met. So I truly encourage you guys, lean into life, lean into discomfort, lean into the unknown, because it is in the unknown that you discover your strength, your power, and the fact that there are actually people out there who will help you get your needs met. You just have to ask for help. Until next time, guys, I have no doubt it'll be in 2 weeks. I will encourage you to laugh often, experience moments of just being present with whatever you're sitting in, and encouraging you to live life on your terms, whatever that looks like, because it's your life and you are worthy of experiencing a life that brings you joy, peace, and connection and love.